Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And my name is William Kumwembe. Coming up in the program today, FinScope survey unveils growing challenges facing small and medium entrepreneurs in the country. And also in the program, we start speaking to some key players in the industry on how they feel about performance of the economy and business in the year 2020. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program today, a recent FinScope survey has unveiled several challenges facing SMEs, especially when accessing capital. Lack of collateral is one of the key challenges. SMEs say banks put up what they call unbearable conditions. We caught up with some of the players in the industry, and our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
The study, jointly conducted with Genesis Analytics, was commissioned by some of the country's development partners. The report was launched recently in Lilongwe. It suggests that formal financing to micro, small and medium enterprises is nearly 60 billion kwacha, which is only about 3% of total assets in the financial sector. It adds that banks face myriad challenges in providing finance to SMEs, including lending models not tailored to MSMEs, high perception of risk due to low levels of financial and business capacity of SMEs, and infant credit information sharing and collateral registry. It further notes that microfinance institutions are the second largest providers of finance, but are characterized by weak capital bases and high non-performing loans, limited risk management, and product development capabilities, and high operating costs and governance challenges. According to the report, 26% of 1,142,000 MSMEs are excluded from the financial scope. Some of the micro, small and medium enterprises plying their trade in Blantyre attest to the findings of the report.
The issues of access to finance is a big problem in Malawi. The thing is, most financing institutions, like when you're talking about banks, they would actually ask you for collaterals which are very, very big in such a way that SMEs are not able to meet such demands. So it ends up being a very difficult situation for SMEs to access finance. Well, to improve the situation, I think what the government has put in place, this issue of Buy Malawian, because most SMEs haven't been able for quite some time to access market in Malawi. So with the coming in of the Buy Malawi and the emphasis that is being made by the government that the SMEs in Malawi must be a priority to be bought from, I think this is going to improve the capacity of SMEs in Malawi.
Maganizonde alipo odidita osati kuchoka panopai koma kupanga so butchery ina.
I would love to grow my business and open few more butcheries, but I do not have enough money.
Tinamba laganizapo zokubwereka ndrama mabandi koma timasowa mwayi okabwereka kuti tingapite ku bwanji.
I don't know how to approach banks and how I can access financing from there. So we try to save to grow the business. But it is very tough because right now business is slow.
Ngati ineyo moyo wanga mene ndimafunira ndimafuna kuti achinyamata anzanga ndinangobadwa ni moyo ofuna kuti matukula achinyamata anzanga andi panopo ndakhala ndikuphunzitsa anthu osiyanasiyana anyamata ena amachokera ku TV.
Business is tough these days. The government all the time speaks about empowering the youth with such skills, but when they put initiatives for us to access funds to grow our business, politics plays a big role, such that the politically connected get the funds, or we are given very small loans that cannot help us grow our businesses.
Ndezinthu ngati zimene zimakhala kuti mutu mwathupi zimakhala zoti business singapite chisogolo.
World Bank country manager Javier Zoreta said development partners had started utilizing some of the findings of the survey in designing programs that are already underway or will soon go into implementation. Secretary for Industry Peter Simbani rated the findings as disheartening.
Now, 2020 could be a year to forget for most businesses in the country. In the first half of the year, the country witnessed a spate of some demonstrations in the aftermath of May 2019 presidential election. That political impasse affected most businesses in the country. As if that is not enough, in the course of the year, we witnessed COVID-19 getting to the peak, affecting cross-border traders and other players in the industry. Now, the question is, how has been the year in as far as business is concerned, and what's the outlook? In the next weeks, we'll be engaging some key players in the industry to have a feel on performance of business and outlook of their businesses. We begin with William Mpinganjira, who is Chief Executive Officer for FTH Financial Holdings Limited.
The business in 2020 has been challenging. Because we had COVID-19, or we still have COVID-19, which affected a lot of our customers. As a result, customers' ability to repay loans has been affected. So performance-wise, for the whole financial services sector, you'll probably note that when the Reserve Bank produces their report, they'll probably say more customers are defaulted than normal. But it's expected because countries shut down. So Malawi, really, we're a trading economy. People rely on buying and selling of goods as well as the agriculture economy. So all these industries literally came to a grinding halt. So it's been a tough year. Then we had elections. So that run up to the elections brought a lot of disruption to the economy in terms of business. So it hasn't been the optimal year. However, at least we are now getting to a situation where everything is calm. So we are looking and hoping for a better 2021. As you have said, the fears of second wave of COVID-19 is a serious worry. Why is that the case? Because countries that had been opening up are shutting down again. So you can see countries are going into lockdown, flights are being stopped. So trading again is going to slow down. So probably as we begin 2021, it won't be much better than 2020. However, with the vaccine that is now starting to roll out, hopefully we should see an improvement in terms of the number of infections falling. So probably if all goes well, then we might see the second half of 2021, maybe things starting to improve once the vaccine goes into effect and it's been rolled out in all countries around the world.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. When we get back, government contemplates setting up ICT Authority. That's when we get back. Welcome back. The government is contemplating to set up an ICT authority to oversee operations and trends in the ICT industry. Gospel Kazako is Minister of Information and caught up with our journalist Chimwemwe Mangazi, who filed this report.
In an interview on the sidelines of the ICT Association of Malawi annual conference, Minister of Information Gospel Kazako said consultations on the proposal would commence soon.
It is very essential to have an authority that will be looking at ICT. And we are at a suggesting stage at the moment, and then several brains will have to talk about this, and then we are hoping that an agreement will be reached, and once that happens, then we will have an authority that will be looking at matters ICT. You see, we have a National Reserve Agency, that's a food authority. We have energy, Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority. That's about energy. We have so many authorities, all right? We have so many, including Sports Authority. That's a Sports Council. That's an authority, enacted by Parliament. But we do not have a proper authority to do and deal with matters ICT. Now, in the absence of that, what happens is a nation might not know what it has, might not know its capabilities, might not know its deficiencies, might not know who has what. Remember, ICT issues are actually a security issue. So we need to have a very well-resourced authority that should be able to advise government very strongly. It should stand there, have the best people run that one, and then be able to say, okay, ministries, what are they doing? Right now, there's, yes, coordination, but not so very fluent coordination on matters ICT. And we're looking forward to having that so that there should be proper coordination. To an extent that, because of that absence of very fluent coordination, sometimes you find that when we are faced with the challenges on the ICT, people don't even know who to contact. All right, we have e-government, of course, but e-government is a little limited in its scope. But when we have this, it's like having a police. A police is for everyone. The police will be able to provide security and Minister of Finance in people's homes. It will provide security and Minister of Education and so on. And so it will go and do crowd control. And so that's how we should be looking at matters ICT. And then the ICT Authority is very crucial. But as I said, this is in the offing. And we are at a suggesting stage, at a discussion stage, and then once that, and consultation and all that kind of stuff, consultations will start very shortly, but we will still want people to start talking about it and see whether indeed it is necessary or not. But we strongly believe that it's a very necessary authority to have.
ICTAM President Bram Fuzulani said establishment of an ICT authority was very critical for industry's growth. He said the authority would allow for the development and enforcement of ICT standards and human capacity development in the public sector.
It's, I think, as a sector, it's a very good initiative. It will allow for the development and enforcement of the standards within the sector. Now, that conversation alone is away from the discussions that is actually going on right now, whether to empower MACRA, the existing current regulator, and empower them with the authority to also be able to play a role in the enforcement of standards within the ICT sector, or to establish a whole new agency altogether, which will be enforcing standards in the public institutions. But it's a very good initiative. It is one of the areas that is touched within the ICT policy 2013, the establishment of the Malawi Information Technology Agency or Authority, MITA. So it's something that is very welcome to the industry, and we hope at the end of the day, whether it will be within MACRA or through the separate entity altogether, it's going to help us to develop the sector.
Giving a keynote address at the conference, renowned ICT expert and UbuntuNet Alliance Chief Executive Officer Matthews Mtumbuka, however, said setting up a new ICT authority was unnecessary and would drain the energy and resources that could be applied to transform ICT services in government.
Now, agriculture remains the mainstay of the local economy, and everyone is speaking of agriculture commercialization as a way of sustaining input of the sector to the economy. The question is, what needs to be done? There are several players in the industry that are working directly with farmers to ensure that farmers make the most of the concept and contribute significantly towards growth of the sector. One of such is Agricultural Commercialization Company, AGCOM. Its Chief Executive Officer is Ted Nankuma, and he explains in this interview what the firm has been doing, as it recently gave out some cash and equipment to some of the farmer clubs on how best they can move on with their business.
We are building the productive alliances, which is the hub of the project that is now linking the producer organization and the off-takers in other service providers. So as we are speaking right now, we have 40 productive alliances that we've established throughout the country, out of which 11 are already receiving the matching grant from AGCOM. And I should say that others have also started. So we think that will speed up the process so that most of these should start receiving the matching grants from us. When we talk of money, we are over 1.2 billion that has been already dispersed. But I think, remember that they only receive the first tranche. So we are talking about the first tranche, which is what we are talking about. But beyond that, I think we should be approaching 2 billion that will be contributed. That will be dispersed within the first cohort that we've taken. So by June next year, we want to achieve at least 175 producer organizations or productive alliances. By the end of the project in 2023, we want to have established 300 on the minimum producer or productive alliances. That's the plan that we have, and I should say that we are on the right trajectory, because apart from the 40 that we are talking about on the ground, we have 50 that we've just finished evaluating, 50 proposals, and we have other pipeline at concept level that we have also evaluated. Now these will be blown up into proposals. So we think by June we should be able to establish the 175 that we are planning to have.
Now, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture is Elika Maganga. She feels the country has vast potential as farmers are ganging up to contribute significantly to the sector.
As a country, and as a ministry, we are very excited with what we have seen today. The fact that the farmer cooperatives that are being supported by AGCOM, a World Bank project, today they have bought vehicles which they will use for transporting their produce. For Shimpa, we have seen that they have bought a vehicle, a 10-ton tracker, which they will be using to transport feed for their dairy animals. And for the cotton farmers, they have bought a truck which they will also be using to transport cotton when they want to take the produce to the market, which is a very important part or component of marketing of agricultural produce. So as a ministry, this project was conceived because we noted that there was a gap in the commercialization of agriculture. Farmers were lacking resources in order to commercialize. So most of the farmers were just doing producing without any focus as to where they would be marketing the produce. But with this project, the farmers are able now to produce while they already know the market of their produce, which is very key to successful production. So from what we have heard from the farmers, they are very much encouraged, and we are happy that even for Shimpa, which is the Shire Highlands Milk Producing Association, they will be able to give at least 1,000 dairy animals to smallholder farmers, mostly of whom are women. So this is good for us as the Minister of Agriculture to see that women can also benefit from this, but also farmers will be able to make income, which they can use for their families, but also to pay school fees and to meet their daily needs.
Well, that story also brings us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. But always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Bye.